Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another episode of the Draxx Life podcast, where we'll chat about some of the weird and the wondrous. Let's get to the show. Okay, guys, we're live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to another episode of The Next Conversation. You got this ragtag bunch of warriors. I got Bobby A here. I got the Haitian Wanderer, Joseph Mark. And today we're going to talk about a subject that Bobby A has been wanting to discuss for a while, actually. I think this is something that was originally brought up maybe like 2 months ago, and we're finally getting around to actually doing an episode on it. So
that's right.
I'm going to pitch it back to you, Rob and Robert. And why don't you just give us a lowdown of the subject you wanted to talk about?
So first of all, happy to hear your voices again. And we have legitimate fans now, fellas. We got some fans. Chris, you might have to start getting on the merchandise. You get me? So, because people want T-shirts. But we're not going to say who. But there's some legitimate followers.
That's good. Say. It's nice to hear.
Yeah, exactly. It's always
it warms my my cockles to know that someone out there enjoys listening to us rant. I think you're cockles, right? I don't even know what that is, but it's like a medieval term.
Yeah, oysters, clams, and cockles. Arya Stark.
Oh my god.
She does, yeah. But we'll get that's another joke for another time. So, but yes, we do have followers, and I've been getting good feedback. So, always shout out to the Crow for allowing us into the nest. Come on. So today, as I've gotten older, and we all experience this, we all mature, and we all think in a different way, and we all have a different perspective on life, I would say. But you also encounter bodily health issues that are different. When I was 20, I was treating my body like an amusement park. like they say in
that's going to be a tagline when I do the bio, like the notes for this episode is going to be like the next conversation.
You can go so many ways
like
with
a roller
that.
coaster.
Just the amusement park is just so good.
Yeah. All right, keep going. Sorry, we're interrupting.
No, it's all good. So I just want to discuss, because we're all in the same age bracket, and I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine too about this earlier. And I just want to let's talk about this is going to be like a humorous thing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What changes in your life now that we've all entered our late 30s? Like, what changes in not just mentally, but physically, and just the way you carry yourself in life in general? So that's basically the topic. And I think this is a good topic right now to talk about, at least me specifically, to kick it off, because I've been in and out of doctor's appointments for probably like the past 3-4 weeks. And I was like I said, I was chatting to a good friend of mine, and he said, yeah, man, you're 37 now. You're 30, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. He's a little older than me. And he says, this is just the nature of the beast of life. So I'll toss it back to you, Corvo. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, so you had some notes, right? I remember I read. So before we had this episode, Robert sent a hit list of 10 things, and it was funny because I was like relaying them to my sister, and she was like, "This guy sounds like George Costanza for a moment." So he had this hit list.
Am I
of
wrong,
things,
bro?
right?
What do I always say? Well, like John Goodman in Big Lebowski. Am I wrong?
Oh my
there you
God.
go. Yeah. So how about this? So we have these 10 things, and since this is really the thing that you want to talk about, I want you to list off just some of this hit list that you sent me as to what are some of the changes that have taken place in your it sounded like in your habits, in your the
Mm-hmm.
foibles that you're having to deal with now that you identify as something you're dealing with in your mid to late 30s. So I'm going to kick it back to you since you had a hit list of items. So I would like you to read some of them.
Okay. So do you want me to just list them off, or do you want to take them one by one?
I mean, we could take them one by one because everyone's going to be different. Like, I know Joe might be like, some of these things might resonate with him. Some might be like, no, that's not my thing. So you could just kind of go through your hit list because this is like, I feel like you've been thinking lately, right? I know you've been going through some like health issues and you've been going to doctor's appointments, and like you're in a state of like reflection of like, all right, well, like what are these? What's changed? What are some of the things I have to deal with that I didn't have to deal with like 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago? So let's just start with this humorous list of things that you're now like, oh shit, like I got to deal with this, I got to do this, I got to do that, and then we can kind of maybe talk about them and then give our own 2 cents of some things that we're dealing with, whether it be outlook or physical.
All right, excellent.
And while you're talking, I'm drinking, ladies and gentlemen, I'm drinking a glass of port wine. For some reason, I've gotten into drinking port wine. So this is I'm savoring this as I listen to Bobby A expand upon his life tragedy.
Yes. So I'm gonna, I think you touched on it expertly. I've been thinking more biologically and physiology as well. And that's what's gotten me into this topic, because it's things that if you don't take care of your body, because remember when we always talk about the triangle, we talked about the triangle in the past episodes, where you need body, soul, mind needs to be firing in all cylinders. You got to take care of the body, and that's what I've been noticing lately. So the first thing I've noticed is I've noticed that all of our peers, at least in our age group, your entire month is planned out in advance. So what I mean,
are you just thinking about Joe? Like all I think about when that happened, when I heard that, I was like,
me.
That's not me, but I can picture Joe. But that Joe's been like that since he was probably like 18. Go, keep going.
No, go ahead. Yeah, but that's a good trait to have. But go ahead.
Not bad at all, actually, Joe. I mean, that means you were like a CEO of your life back when you were like a teenager.
I would say it's just more just trying to balance between different factions at the time, but it's more so the case now because I just can't handle like getting up and having a hangover the day of and trying to go to work or trying to run some errands. It's just so fucking painful. I can't do it anymore.
I like how so it pretty much sounds like your calendar is based off of it's dealing with the consequences of a hangover.
Yep.
Like you look at your month calendar, you're like, all right, do I want a hangover on Tuesday, November 20th? No, I really don't. I got to move that event to the Friday. Is that part of your planning regimen?
It is now. I can't tell you how many times I've said that I can't hang out because I have work the next day. I just can't do it.
Okay, so we got one. One is on the plate, right? We're going to call that scheduling and hangover management.
Yeah, so those are 2 things that I want to talk about too, because sometimes, as Joe can attest to, and some of our other friends as well, it bleeds into the second day. Like your hangover can last 48 hours, full 48 hours. And that's where I realized it's like, shit, I want to go out on Friday. Like, obviously you want to hang out to that last shred of your youth and still see your friends and still have good conversations and do fun activities. However, it's almost as if you only want to go out Friday. For me, I mean, for people who work Monday to Friday, obviously others are different. You want to go out on Friday. Friday's your big day because you can just relax Saturday and Sunday, watch TV, cook your dinners, as I know Corvo likes to do. He likes to sit at home, cook his dinner, read a book, and just relax.
Whittle.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's another thing that I want to talk about later. Is there's nothing wrong with not wanting to go out all the time. Whereas in our youth, at least for me, it would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday
Yeah.
going up. So that's a good call.
I think
And what?
sorry to
Go
interrupt,
ahead.
but another part of it is actually scheduling with other people's schedules. Like I know
Mm-hmm,
among
mm-hmm.
us in terms of our group of friends, it's hard to kind of schedule different meetups because some people have families, some people have loved ones that they have to deal with.
Yep.
It's just hard to kind of tango with the schedules that our friends have.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree with that one, right? As you get older, you're gonna have people who have wives, who have kids, right? You're not gonna be able to say, "Hey, like let's hang out next week." You're gonna have to plan that out a month in advance, or
Hmm.
2 months, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3 months, depending on the situation. Yeah,
It's
so I agree with that one definitely.
it's true. So what I've learned is there's something, because as you said, Chris, and husbands too. Like we have
Yeah,
friends that have
true. I
husbands,
mean, yeah, but
so
significant others. That's what I mean.
significant others. So there's what I would say for that is I've noticed something now that we've reached an age where a bunch of your friends or your family members or siblings, etc.,
Hmm.
are married and have children. There's something called the big calendar, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a calendar that people keep in their house where I was looking specifically. I was looking through one of them, and what's today? November 6th. You dog. The calendar's full until January, son. So
Yeah. Well, especially if you have a significant other, it's like it's now two calendars blended into one calendar.
yeah, yeah. And there's also the children activity,
Yeah.
like you said, career wise, education wise, all that. I was
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree.
and I was telling he's a good friend of mine. He's from the Bronx. He's so I was trying. So the world, for everyone that doesn't know, the World Cup is coming up, and this in 2 weeks. And I'm still thinking like a stupid 22-year-old, where I could, like Corvo just said, I can phone up my friend and say, I'm gonna watch USA England. What are you doing? And he said, "Yo, that's the day after Thanksgiving. I'm already spoken for like the next 5 weeks." What
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
so,
It's like we're in the holiday season now, dog.
yeah, exactly. So you can't just phone someone up and say, "Yo, you want to go watch the USA game during the World Cup?" And he said, I've have planned, like you just said, I've planned these holiday activities were already locked in and cemented."
Yeah.
And how does Corvo say it? He always says it's baked in. That's the word I was looking for. It's been baked into the pie since July, dude. What are you talking about? So,
Yeah.
so it's a different animal. So that's what I've noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just getting like that's not even getting older per se. It's more of like growing up and maturing and having more responsibilities, right? That's how I look at that. Like you could be 22 and married with kids. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
scenario, right? It's just like no, like my time is now just it's not only my time now. It's my time is the leftovers after I deal with or not deal with in a negative, but my wife and my kids or my husband and our kids or an aging parent, right? It's like, yeah, I think that's what comes along with getting older, i.e., more responsibilities and less free time. So yeah, definitely, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. All right. So my second thing is it doesn't apply to me because I'm not a coffee drinker, but your
Yeah,
dependency on
this one
coffee.
I want to like yeah say this one because I was like I don't agree with this one and I don't and like I would say I would okay go ahead sorry.
No, no, no. It's all right. It's all right. I mean, Joe's not a coffee drinker either.
I
Am
am
I
not.
correct?
No.
Yeah. So,
But tell me
but
why you said this one. This one came out of left field because I think most people would say the opposite.
really,
No.
so,
I would
So
actually
hold
agree
on, hold
with
on.
Rob.
Just say it real quick. Say it real fast.
so my I'm looking around at all the people that I know, and they're drinking multiple cups of coffee per day. I don't even have the craving for one. I get that sometimes it gets to a level of dependency for people, uh, but for me, it's not that I don't like the taste. I actually love the aroma of coffee more than anything, more than the taste. I like the smell.
Yeah,
And
the olfactory senses.
yeah, that's really good. What's that clicking back there? Is that me? All right, it might be me. All right. Anyway,
It's all good.
it's the
This
Rangers
is
game in the
we're
background.
not in a professional studio, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So deal with
Some-
the consequences of three-way conversation in multiple locations.
I'll turn this off. Actually, fuck that.
Yeah, the coffee one. So
So
here, while Rob is getting set up, so he
I'm
was
good,
saying
I'm
he
good.
sent me a message and he said he's like people are more sensitive to coffee, like they need more coffee in order to kind of like maintain energy levels throughout the day, right? That was the gist of it, if I recall.
That's exactly right. So
I guess
I've
keep
just
going.
I've just noticed people around me, friends, family that drink more coffee more, and I asked why once. As someone who doesn't drink, I'm not a daily coffee user, and I said that like it's a drug. I'm sorry, it is
Oh,
kind
it
of
is.
It
It is a
is. It's a
drug.
stimulant.
100%.
yeah.
100%.
So
It is 100%.
I said why, and if I drank a cup of coffee right now, it's almost 7:30. I wouldn't be. I would just be. My mind is, as you both know, as two of my good friends. My mind is on a fucking hurricane spin right now. I don't need coffee, man. It's already going a mile a minute. So um, I don't need that stimulation. So I
Yeah,
just,
you don't
it
need
was
to
more
get the
of a curious.
whirlwind moving faster.
You're right, exactly. No. I want to slow down, if anything.
Yeah.
So
Give me some heroin.
yeah.
Okay. So you
pick
started.
up
So
weed.
who are these people? These are my questions. Like, who are they? Family members?
Yeah. Family.
What was the reason? Like they said that they needed more coffee.
It's more as just they enjoy, I would say, the buzz of it. They enjoy like it's because it gives you a high. It's like smoking cigarettes. It's like any other thing. They enjoy the high of it, but they don't have the same perspective and interest. Like the way their brain works is different, so they're able to take a couple deep breaths and they're not thinking about all the stuff that I'm thinking about and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's more of the second half of it's very ritualistic.
Yes, that's a big part.
So in Italy, you're supposed to have a coffee after you have a good dinner. So
cultural would be the right word, I'd also say.
Yeah, exactly. So that part I was starting to understand more as I get older.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that. So okay, yeah. When I read that at first, I was saying like they need more caffeine because also a lot of older people complain of caffeine. Of like if I have caffeine at this time of day, like their sensitivity increases. Like for example, if you've ever waited tables, like if you wait on an elderly couple and they get a cup of coffee, like they will make, not all, but I'm generalizing. I've had the experience where many will be like, it needs to be decaf. Like it needs to be decaf. Like, and it might be like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, like 5 o'clock in the early evening. Like their sensitivity has increased. Whereas when I was a kid, I could go to a diner at 12 o'clock at night, drink 5 cups of coffee, go home, go to sleep. Like that's something that I've heard of people who are like, no, like if I have a cup of coffee at 7, I've been around not older, but like middle-aged people who are like, dude, how are you going to drink that and then go to sleep at night? So that's why when I read that, I was like, interesting, because a lot of people would say the opposite. But yeah, go ahead.
No, but you're right. I'm just trying to basically like understand the coffee culture of the world. That's what
And also, you're around Puerto Ricans. These are the people I'm guessing based on where I know you're living that you're identifying, right?
Correct. So basically, just Latinos in general. So
yeah,
South America and Central America as well.
I think a lot of cultures consume a lot more stimulants than others. Like I know, like Italy, for example, you're having coffee multiple times a day. India, you're having tea multiple times a day. Latin America, where there's like coffee plantations, I think they drink coffee multiple times a day. So like part of it, I wonder is like, right, it's the buzz, it's the ritual, it's what you do, regardless of if you really need it and you're tired. It's just like, oh no, I want to have a cup of coffee. Yeah, so I wonder how much of that is age related and how much of that is cultural. Like if you're in India and you're like 12 years old, you're having a cup of tea probably 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
I like that you brought that up because that's why I wanted to raise this topic because
yeah,
to me, coffee when I was growing up is always as something to get you going. It's used as a stimulant, as Joe
yeah,
said.
it's a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah,
But I've noticed now that I'm older that it's it's less of that and more just the like the ritualistic cultural part of it, like
yeah.
both of you were saying, especially tea, because now that I hang out with a lot of English people, it's tea. They drink tea so much. I have to have my cup of tea. There's even a time of the day called tea time. If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. No, you're
There's
not.
there's and even in football, my favorite sport, there's kickoffs at a certain time of day because the English Premier League has certain hours, like time slots. I would say, you know how Joe, the NFL has the 1 o'clock, the
Mm-hmm.
NFL the 4 o'clock, the 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
England has the early kickoff, then the tea time kickoff is even called the tea time kickoff,
That's
and then the
interesting.
late game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've noticed now more that I'm older that it's not. Some people use it, yeah, to get you going, sure, but it's more of like this is what we've been doing for centuries
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
thing.
I mean,
I
and I also
definitely
think,
think definitely think it's like a ritualistic thing because
Yeah.
I just remember my time when I went to Seattle like 3 different times, and I went there during like autumn, so I just go there just to try out there. Like Starbucks is like the infamous pumpkin spice latte, and you could just see just the culture around there, just people walking around with coffee cups.
yeah.
It's just a thing that they do day in day out, just to try to get by the morning. And the same thing in New York. It's kind of like a crazy kind of always go kind of atmosphere, and people they think they need the stimulant, but they want the stimulant to just get them going. I just feel like that's not a thing that I see all that much when I went to Florida, like Fort Lauderdale or Tampa. People a little bit more easygoing, a little bit more slower. It's just not that go 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 kind of
But you're also
mentality.
not. You're not walking around people in those places. Like you're not
That is
seeing their
true, but
morning commute.
but
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought that my friend who lives in Tampa would go, well, really outside of St. Pete, but would have gone to like a coffee shop drive through and gone and done that. But I didn't see him do that in my week there, which is kind of surprising because he definitely has that Bronx um go 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 kind of mentality as
I would
well.
ask him if he drinks coffee every morning in his house. Like New York people go to they have to go buy a $5 coffee, but
I
most
wouldn't
parts
be
of the world we
surprised
buy
if he
coffee
did.
pots and we make our own coffee.
I would not be surprised if he did. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think like you said, Joe, coffee has become, for lack of a better, a legal drug. That's also
Yeah.
become. I mean, it is. It's caffeine. There's a reason why people like caffeinated beverages, other than the taste. Um, and then also, I think it's a culture. It is. It's become part of this thing. Like it's part of. It's the equivalent of why do people eat eggs in the morning for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
You could eat anything in the morning for breakfast, but why is it that eggs is considered like kind of a staple breakfast item? It's just kind of become a thing you eat in the morning. There's no logical reason. Like you could eat anything. You could have a steak in the morning if you really wanted to.
It's
Like why
true.
not?
Well,
But
It's just like
they want to
steak and
look.
eggs. I mean, people do eat that.
They do. They want to look like Darius Ramos and Chris Corvo. That's why they eat eggs in the morning.
But you know what I mean.
which
You could eat. You could have. I don't know, fettuccine alfredo in the morning. It's nutrients. Like,
that's wild to me.
why do you eat? No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, why is it that pancakes and eggs, for example, is like not a staple,
That's
but
a
it's
good point.
equivalent with this is a breakfast food. Like that's cultural. Like that we've just decided that that's breakfast. Just like in Sicily, they might eat like a frozen ice because it's so hot, and like that's considered like it is a common breakfast food. Here we'd be like, what are you doing? Like you're eating pretty much like Italian ice. Like why would you eat that in the morning? It doesn't make sense. Like it's cultural.
But you
All right,
also
cool.
reminded me, Rob, just a quick little thing. Pre-workouts too. I feel like that's becoming a thing for like 30 something. Well, even late 20
Oh
somethings
yeah,
too.
that's
Um
everyone. I mean, dude, they've been doing pre-workouts. It's
But
snorting
I
caffeine
didn't start
since like the
noticing this, and
70s.
I didn't start noticing this until like maybe 5, 7 years ago. How everyone is like kind of doing it, or even foolishly dry scooping it. It's kind of
Oh
crazy.
yeah, that is weird. Yeah, that's what. Why do they do that, Joe? Like this, we're gonna go off topic for a second.
I think
No,
it's
go ahead.
just I think it's social media clout, just to do
That's what it
something
is, right? It's
different.
like,
Yeah,
but what is like? Is there a rationale as to
I
why
doubt
people
it.
would do that?
I just think
Okay,
it's something different, something new.
so
That
fucking
yeah.
dumb.
I mean,
Dry scooping, Bobby A. For you who do not know.
yeah.
So like pre-workouts in like bodybuilding, working out community, they'll take in some cases you can buy what they call pre-workout. Pre-workout is usually has like 3 compounds in it, usually at the very least. It has in many cases caffeine, so it's a huge punch of caffeine. It'll have B12 because B12 mixed with caffeine is a super stimulant, and
Mhm.
it'll have niacin. Niacin opens up like it allows for those two substances to be absorbed more easily into the blood. And niacin also makes you tingly and red sometimes.
That tingle is crazy.
You can have a bad reaction. So a lot of pre-workouts have at the very least like those 3 compounds. And then you'll take it to get really like energized and amped up before you go then lift weights. So they call this pre-workout. You can buy it on Amazon or whatever, 1,001 different brands. Yeah, so that's what pre-workout is. But people, the dry scooping, usually it's a powder, and you mix it with water, or you can add it to a protein shake. You shake it, it dissolves, and you drink this beverage, almost like a fortified Kool-Aid, in essence. The dry scooping thing, which I'm not really in social media, but it's a thing where like people just stopped adding it to water, and they just start like pouring the powder in and just trying to like throw it down like without any liquid for no reason, to my understanding, because it's like that's a great way to almost die. Like you know what I mean? It absorbs all the liquid and moisture in your mouth, and you're gonna nearly choke to get it down. I guess the idea is maybe you digest it faster, it hits the bloodstream more quickly. I don't know. So that's
So
what it is
wait,
for
so
those who are not aware.
so it's like remember Fun Dip?
Yeah, exactly
Yes,
like that.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And then you'll mix it with water, so it like a Kool-Aid. It'll dissolve. But they're just like downing the powder form, which like, can you imagine trying to like ingest that? Like that's how you could choke to death.
Yeah, you're not gonna have any saliva left in your mouth.
No,
after
it's like
that.
how are you gonna get it? It's like, dude, why would you do this? It makes no sense whatsoever.
But I think I'm picking up what you're putting down now. Is it some kind of like cool social media thing?
It's like
It's
correct.
Yes.
Like you could go on
Just
YouTube
to
and
get
some
clout,
people
yeah.
you'll see
Yeah.
doing it, but like
that
like,
sucks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
dumb. It's very dumb.
I
But
think
anyway,
this is a great segue into probably one of Bobby's like next things, which is um, like health and fitness.
yeah, the one thing was stomach, food, and what you
Yes.
can eat, and things along those lines. So,
So
let's hit us with that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's well done. So I've noticed as a man in my late 30s now, when I eat too late at night, especially if we're talking White Castle, Popeyes, shit like that. Shit that I like though, like Popeyes is, and that's what I always say about fast food. It's not. I think we've talked about this before
Yeah, we have.
in the nutrition episode. It tastes good. Whoever says McDonald's doesn't taste good is a liar. Straight up. Now, is it bad for you? Fuck yeah, it's bad for you. But don't say it doesn't taste good. Don't say McDonald's is disgusting. It tastes good. Is it bad for you? Oh, big time. So I've noticed that if I go to Taco Bell at 3 a.m, which I did once
God.
after
That sounds delightful.
No.
after and if anyone wants to fast forward, they can. But I remember one of our favorite bars on 14th Street that I went to with a certain someone who also likes Taco Bell, and I think his significant other doesn't let him eat it,
which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. But we
Does he have long hair at times?
yeah, I think you know who it is. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Keep going.
And we ate it. It was like 3:34 in the morning. And the next day, I had plans. The next day, I had, all right, I'm gonna go to the park. I'm gonna go watch football. I'm gonna have a picnic, etc., etc. Go on a date, and I had to cancel all of it, dude, because I ate Taco Bell at 4 a.m, wasted.
You're like, the day is done, guys.
It's
Sorry.
done.
You heard that gong.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Now,
the
did
sound-
you
the sound.
know, like going into that situation, did you know I want Taco Bell? I'm going to eat it, but I know tomorrow there's going to be a problem, or were you
That's a
surprised
good question.
when there was a problem the next day?
I wasn't surprised because I knew what was going to happen to me. But
So you pulled that grenade intentionally,
did
not
it to
intentionally, but you're like, come what may, I'm eating Taco Bell. I know there'll be consequences tomorrow, but I choose that path.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
it
you
was-
walked into that with your eyes wide open.
Yes, no one
Yes.
did it to me, but it wasn't some kind of destiny and fate that we were talking
You didn't
about.
wake up the next day and you're like,
No.
oh, what is happening to me?
No.
I don't feel well. I was
I
like,
knew it instantly.
all right.
And not that, but it's like to my point earlier, it's not that
Yeah.
Taco Bell doesn't taste good. Taco Bell tastes good. But
I love Taco Bell.
Yeah, but we live in New York. You can easily go to like a really good Mexican food truck or a Mexican restaurant that's still open late because it's New York and the shit doesn't close till 4 a.m.
Yeah, but would
But-
you have had a similar problem? So it's not, you're speaking
Not-
specifically to like what you
Yeah.
consider fast food. But if you went to like a Five Guys, or you went to a halal truck, or you went to
Oh, halal is
I
a
don't know,
problem
a
for
ta-
me too.
a taco truck, would that you would have dealt with that intestinally better, or was it the
Interesting.
fact that you're eating
No,
At 4
like,
a.m. in the
junk
morning,
food
yeah.
regardless at 4 a.m.
I
on a street in New York?
I think if I ate authentic homemade like a couple tacos or a quesadilla from an authentic Mexican restaurant, I would have been fine. It's the fact that it was
What about a piece of lasagna, homemade?
Ooh, that's a tough one too. Hey, Italian food also absolutely delicious. One of my favorite cuisines. That's a tough one to eat late at night too, because you wait, but you can eat. But this is the whole point. This is why I like this episode. The whole
Oh,
point,
Rob.
yeah, the whole point is when you're 20 years old, you can do that.
Yeah.
When you're our age, you can't do that.
See, this is one I'm gonna have to disagree with you on,
All
because
right,
this is a you problem.
it might
not
be a
we
me thing.
problem.
All right, go ahead.
Like, because when you read that, I was like, dude, that's just not me, man. Like,
You
I
could
can
do
eat
that?
food I can eat anything at 10 o'clock at night. My last meal of the day is at 10 o'clock at night usually, and I'll go to
Really?
sleep and I'll
Wow.
sleep without problem. And it'll be like tonight. What am I gonna? I'm gonna eat ground beef and shrimp and make French fries and have it with like garlic broccoli, like no problem whatsoever. If there was a piece of lasagna right now, I ate it at night, no problem. I wake up at
Can't do that.
5:30 to go to the gym, no issues. But like, if you talk to my brother, who has like, as he's gotten older, and I'm not saying he's an old man. It's just like his digestion has changed. Like my dad would say, is like, who's in great shape. He, like, as he's gotten older, like certain foods would agitate him, and he had to cut them out. So some of this stuff I think is just genetic. Like, there'll be a day where there's something I can't eat, but like for the most part right now, I'm 36. I can eat anything without problem, no flaw. My stomach is like a brick. It's like it just
Iron
consumes,
stomach.
no issue.
Yeah, I mean, so you're lucky though, Chris. You're fucking
Yeah,
lucky.
I mean it's a genetic. But I think digestion is one of those things that's not even age. It's like some people have shitty digestion. They could be in their 20s, and it's like they'll be like, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I can't this. Like the stomach is like a mystery, man. That's one of those things that like it changes as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
It gets weaker. Sometimes it gets stronger. There's foods you could eat in your 20s that you can't eat in your 30s, but that reverses. There's foods that you could eat, but you couldn't eat in your 20s, but now you can eat in your 30s. It's like, so that was one. I'm like, no, that's not a 30 thing. That's a you issue.
All right,
not a me issue.
that's fair. That's fair because your digestive system is a very good indication of your overall health too, as well. So,
True, but also I think not to say that you're unhealthy. I think the stomach is like they say the stomach is as complex as the brain, right? So it's like like all of the interconnectedness of the stomach. It's just like your biome, like that biome might be like, no, like we're not designed to consume this anymore. It's not even that you're unhealthy. It's just like, no, like we don't need this. We don't want this ingredient in our ecosystem. Whereas someone else is like, it's just like why if you were to go to a 30-something that lives in India, they could be eating spices out the wazoo that you're like, how the hell are you doing that? But it's also because like for the last 30 odd years, they've been eating it. And that stomach, that ecosystem is like, oh, this is our native food. But you give them some cheese and their whole body starts to freak the fuck out because they're like, shit, we don't eat this. What the hell did you just add to our little inner universe? So yeah, anyway, go ahead.
So I have a question for you then. Do you think this is, like Joe said, you have an iron stomach. Is this something that can be acquired, or are you just lucky to have this genetically? Is it innate?
I think it might be just innate because like my brother's stomach is gotten, he used to be able to do what I can do, and then it's not that way. My sister has had like more of a fragile stomach where there's certain things that she's not going to eat. My dad is like that. My mom is a little bit, I think it's either a natural thing or also I didn't abuse it too much.
I think that's
so
a
it's
big
given
part.
me a lot more like flexibility. Because like another thing, we can talk about this later. Like you and Joe probably burnt more bright than in your 20s than I did. Like to say it, like I think that's a good way to say it.
It's a nice
like,
way to say it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
just say it the way it is. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like I consumed the largest amount of alcohol probably between like junior year of high school to maybe sophomore year of college. That's probably the most I probably consumed more alcohol in high school into freshman year of college than I consumed the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do think that might have. I also think my stomach is just genetically. I'm like, all right, one gift. Here's a good strong stomach. But like I didn't consume huge quantities of alcohol. I never really ate like huge quantities of junk food in my 20s. So I think that might have added to the fact that like I can go to India and like, eat food, and like,
I think that's
that would
a
make people
huge part
sick.
of it. I definitely do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Joe,
But I think a lot of it is genetic. I don't think it's just me having good habits. I think it's just like, oh no, like you have a good stomach.
But then it's also psychological too. Like being in your 20s, you think that nothing can affect you. Once you get to your
Correct.
30s, you're still in that mode where you have that mentality, but then you start to hit these walls, like me and my
Yes.
stomach.
Yes.
And
yeah,
you
I know
still
you've had a lot of stomach issues.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, speak to that.
And you still think that you can do those things. So it takes some adjustment to try to figure out, okay, what can I and what can't I do now that I'm getting into this newer phase. Like it may not be, maybe it's something that's preordained maybe through genetics, but psychologically, I was able to get away with that through my 20s. I can't get away with that now, but I have to get readjusted to saying, okay, I'm done. I can't eat this kind of food or drink this kind of drink anymore unless I want to suffer the consequences. Because I know with me, I decided, okay, let me just try out like a major like vegetarian diet for a while just to see if I can actually like conquer my stomach issues. And it so far,
did that help you? Like, so how long? I mean, I didn't know this. So how long have you been doing? So have you been eating vegetarian?
Yeah, for like the past like I would say 3-4 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what has your experience been? I didn't know that you were trying this experiment.
Like the cravings are fucking insane, man. It's just like there are times when I just want a fucking like French fry or like a turkey burger, and I just like the first week I like succumb and I actually like had fries when I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say now that I've done it and I've gotten used to it, it's just really getting into a routine. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, interesting.
For
I mean, my
French
mom.
fries, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The French fries are still vegetarian, though.
No, but that's the thing.
Is it the fat?
It's not the fat. It's what it's fried in. I had no fucking
the
clue.
oil that you're cooking.
Yeah, it's like beef. Fuck. it's like beef oil or something connected that way, where it's fried with all the
Mm.
other crap that.
Yeah, they call it tallow.
Yes, beef tallow. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I would one day I would think, okay, I'm eating sweet potato fries because it's
Yeah.
fucking healthier than regular fries or tater tots. But nope, that shit is fried in fucking beef tallow.
No.
It's
Yeah.
not much
No.
different than just eating regular fries. So it's just
That's like if you
crazy.
go to an Indian restaurant, all the vegetarian food, unless you ask, is cooked with ghee. So you're eating like an animal fat product. Um, so yeah, I mean, vegetarian. If you're trying to really stay off animal products, yeah, you have
Gotta
to
eat
ask because
raw
you can't
foods.
assume. Or you're eating specifically at like vegetarian places where you can like they specifically say like we're cooking in this oil or that
Hmm.
oil. Um,
Um,
oh, to go back, Rob, you asked like about my stomach. The one thing I can say that might be an actual like thing I did, which I think the reality is like I just right now I have a good like a strong stomach. I have done like different diets over the years, and I wonder if that has like conditioned my stomach. Where like I've done keto, where I've eaten very strict. I've eaten like one meal a day for a significant period of time. I've done vegetarian. Like I almost wonder if I've trained my stomach to like just deal with like different stimuli. So like
okay.
that's the only thing I can say that I've done that might have had a consequence in the positive.
Yeah, it's I think if in from my research and my just experience out in the world talking to people and trying to find out what's going on, because there's as both of you know, in New York there are a lot of halal carts, and there's a place called halal. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a place called Halal Guys, which
Yeah,
is a
it's good
very
stuff.
famous. It's the flavor is, oh my god, it's one of the best. It's especially when you've been out watching soccer all day, you get me, so you
Yeah.
gotta, it's like you were saying earlier, Joe and I have, we've ruined the lining of our stomach
Yeah, and I want to talk about this
yeah,
in a second, but keep going.
for 10 to 15 years we've ruined the lining of our stomach because
Yeah.
we watch sports, and you know what happens when you watch sports, you know what I'm saying. uh,
Okay, so
and
I'm gonna ask. Go ahead, finish your thought. Sorry.
and there's a that like I would eat that very late at night, and the next day it's the same thing as the Taco Bell. You're just like, oh, like if it just, the sensation of it is almost you're euphoric of eating it. That's how good the flavoring is.
Yeah.
But the next day you're just like, okay, that's why you gotta, that's now we tie it in back to the scheduling thing. If I don't have fuck all to do tomorrow, I can go eat Halal Guys at 3 in the morning. But go but go
Yeah.
ahead.
I have
Hey,
a
have you ever?
question. I have a question
Go
for you,
ahead.
Chris.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just to sorry to sidetrack, but how do you honestly eat like Italian food like at 10 at night and not have any repercussions, or do
I
you?
can, but I don't eat. I don't really eat Italian food that frequently.
Okay.
But like I usually eat like I will be done here. Let's say 8:39. I'll probably have my last meal between 9 and 10 o'clock.
Do you go to sleep immediately after, or you just kind
I'll
of?
be in bed by 10:30, 11. I
Wow.
probably eat my
That's
last
wild.
meal
That's
like
wild.
9:30, and then like I'm probably in bed no later than 11:30.
I'm surprised you don't give your stomach some time to digest
Yeah,
before
that's
you
important.
just. Yeah. I.
I mean, I think that yeah, I think if I ate a little bit earlier, and I think my dreams might be a little better, but like for the most part, I can. It's never been really an issue. Um, but yeah, it hasn't been an issue. Like I
I
can go to bed. The one thing I have noticed is like caffeine, for example. Like caffeine has changed as I've gotten older. Like I don't need it as much, and if I consume caffeine late at night, like if I consume it like 7, let's say 6 or 7, like that might, depending on the day and my internal chemistry, when I'm trying to go to sleep at 10:30, I might be a little wired, which is like new. Like when I was much younger, I could consume caffeine pretty late. I actually consume less caffeine as I've gotten older, not more.
Mm, yeah.
Like I used to drink like a French press full of coffee, like 4 cups at a shot, like just doing whatever doing in the morning, drinking 4 cups. Now
Jesus.
I have like a shot of espresso, 2 shots of espresso, like a cappuccino, and that's it. I won't drink any more caffeine during the day. That's just me though.
Okay.
Um,
I envy you.
but
I envy you.
yeah, but what I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys are more well, you used to be. Rob, you're still probably more than both me or Joe. Alcohol, like again, I don't consume a lot of alcohol. Like I'll have a glass here, I might have a couple glasses, but I don't really drink that much alcohol, and very rarely am I drinking alcohol to a point of like I haven't gotten wasted. Let's use that word in like a long time. Like I don't get hangovers because I don't drink that. I don't drink enough to get a hangover. Um, how is that a change? Because yeah, like I would imagine you guys burn bright, like, and even
Very
you,
bad.
Rob, you
Very
still
bad.
burn pretty bright, probably brighter than you should.
Agreed. Yeah.
So like yeah, like how
You know
much
what?
do you?
I disagree.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
I think with Rob's, at least from what I noticed that he does now and what he used to do then, he doesn't. He sticks to his like go to more. He doesn't. He just drinks like kind of like beer.
Yeah, I
He
stay in
doesn't.
the
okay,
pocket.
but
I stay in the pocket.
correct, but I would
Yeah.
say that Rob still goes out. He
Yeah.
still will have a set. If he's going to go watch soccer, how many drinks is he going to have?
I'm not gonna say that on air, but it's a lot.
A significant,
A
So
significant
here
amount.
I have two questions actually
Yeah.
because this is one of those things. One is like, do you really think for you that how negatively alcohol has affected you in the long term? That's question one. Question two, before you answer that, is what about alcohol and cultures, right? Like, it's a weird thing, right? Like, you're talking about alcohol and as a negative, but like, you have certain cultures, like Great Britain, right, who like consume way more alcohol than we do, and they consume it all through their lives. They're drinking a sherry, they're drinking a beer on a regular basis, they're drinking wine, or in Italy, they're like significantly larger quantities of alcohol. And for the most part, I don't think they complain of it as they get older. I could be wrong. I don't know too many people that are from the UK. Like, so one, like, how much do you think with their ailments, alcohol has been a contributor? And two, why does it seem that certain cultures have a better ability to deal with alcohol than others? Like, I know for myself, if I had a hangover, I would probably not drink for a long. I would just be like, you know what, fuck it, it ain't worth it. Like, I'm not gonna waste. Seriously, if I had a bad hangover at my age, because I haven't had hangovers because I don't let myself get to that point. That would be like the nail in the coffin of drinking. I'd be like, nah, don't need to do this no more, because I just wouldn't want to deal with the consequences. So yeah, like, what do you guys have to say about that?
I'm
Because
gonna.
I know you guys in your
I have
20s
an answer.
drank a significant amount.
Yes,
You guys were
Yes, I
you guys
did.
were out, men on the town. So yeah, what do you think? How has there been any consequences to that behavior?
Oh yeah, for sure. Let me go first, then we'll throw it back to Joe.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in my 20s, I think we talked about this on a previous episode too. I would call it irresponsibly drinking, where you're getting. It's
Yeah,
funny now,
100%.
but yeah, I was getting to the point where, do you know how many bad mistakes I made where, and Joe can attest to this, and our other close friends, where there were, I'm going to use women as an example because it's pertinent to the point.
Mhm.
It'll drive the point home. You know how many times that I ruined chances with women that could have been very, very um, promising and significant for me, because I was just absolutely buckled. So, and I had to the point where I had to just leave. I would Irish exit. Joe knows, and Chris
Yeah.
knows too. I was the
I
was the
mean,
king of the Irish exit.
Bobby
I
A.
admire
It
that so
shouldn't even be
much.
called it should be called the Bobby exit. Like,
Yeah.
don't even call it the Irish exit. It's like you can rename it after yourself at this point.
Yeah,
Done.
the Bobby A departure, the flight's
Yes.
departing. So
The Bobby A bailout. That's
yeah.
what it should
Oh
Bailout,
my
that's a good
God.
one. That's a good one. I like the alliteration.
Yep.
There you go.
So like it's to that point where obviously I'm not going to name their names, but we worked with a lot of these women, and they were like, "What the fuck, man? Like I really like this guy," but I would just disappear, just vanish like a phantom into the night. But to your
Hold on, I remember going out
Batman.
on a birthday for Bobby A. This was like when I first met him, and he did this at his own birthday.
Yeah, man, what an asshole move.
Like he disappeared at his own birthday. People gathered together for him, and then he disappeared.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly.
That's a superhero trait. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Yeah,
Correct. It's like maybe for all I know, he was saving a woman from a burning building, like on the other side of town.
Right, and to tie it back to what this is funny. That's why I love you guys. To tie it back to what we were talking about earlier. Everyone keeps asking me, "How did you hurt your foot? Why is your back fucked up?" And it's like I'm Batman. They're like, you don't know, I'm Batman at night. That's why. But I can't
waking up like Christian Bale, bruises all over his back. What the heck happened to you?
Yeah, waking up. Remember, what I always think is I need that brace that Alfred gives him, made by Lucius Fox, where his knee is Christian Bale's knee is completely fucked, but then it's like a mechanic. Joe, you guys know what I'm talking about.
That sound that when it just locks in.
Yeah, I need that for my back. Some Lucius Fox, please make that for me. Dude. So
that's like a relationship thing, which I think is true. Like I think that's a lot of people can probably relate to that.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, sorry. To answer your question, Chris, I feel like other cultures handle it better. I think American drinking culture is more binge drinking culture.
Yeah, that was my problem. Exactly.
If you'll notice, and I think that's another thing to point back to this whole topic, like just going out now, you really see it's a young person's like thing. Like
it's a young person's game.
Yes. Like there was one time that Rob and I went out and we were downtown and we just saw the amount of people that was streaming into this bar, and I could have sworn it's like mostly like 19. Well, I'm not gonna say 19. I would say 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds in this bar, and I'm just thinking to myself, is this how we were when we were in our early 20s and mid 20s?
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly how we were. So.
Yeah. That's another thing, just to throw that in there, is like that I think is an interesting thing about age. That's a psychological thing, is that you're then confronted by younger people and the difference is striking.
Yes.
Like that to me is a showing of maturity. Not even a negative, like it's a positive. It's like, was I like that? Like that's crazy because I could never see myself being like that now. Like that to me is like that shit holds a mirror up of like, oh, really? Like I have changed because I would never do what I'm witnessing right now, but I might have done that when I was that age 10 years ago or however many years. So that to tie into like the growing up and changing, and that is something I have noticed where you're like, whoa, like
we were all like that in different ways, not the same way as probably Joe and I were, but
well, everyone was, because you were that age and you kind of had the same motives and you know you're hopped up on testosterone and you know it's I think that's the one thing that's like if you have, that's the thing, none of us have kids, right? So like ideally, let's say not ideally but traditionally we would have kids right in our early 20s, let's say.
I don't think that's a tradition anymore. I think that's
no. I'm saying traditionally, as in like, yes, at one point it was a tradition. We've done a lot of things in this day and age that are not traditional, i.e., turning 3-year-olds into girls that were boys. But that's the conversation for another day.
Whoa! don't.
But I'm saying is
don't upset
historically
liberal Twitter, Corvo.
Yeah, correct. But Elon owns it now, so who knows? So, but like I guess like traditionally, like it was more the norm than not the norm. Let's call it that, right? Well, my point is that like you would be confronted by your younger self in your child. Like if you had a kid when you were 24. Close to our age, like, you know what I mean? Like when you're in your 40s, that kid is in their 20s and you're like, oh, really? Like I see how they're behaving. I behave like, you know what I mean? Like you'd have the mirror, you created the mirror, and that mirror would be with you the rest of your life. And you're like, oh shit, like my little, Chris Jr. is like, I see him, he's sneaking out, or he's doing this, or I can smell alcohol on his breath. But I like that. Yeah, it was like that. Son of a gun, man. You would carry that. For us, it's like when you go out and you see some stranger that's like a 20-year-old or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, look at those bros, like, doing XYZ, all puffed up chest. Oh shit, I was like that one day. It's kind of a positive because you can see, oh, like I'm not like that anymore. I've evolved to a degree. I'm doing something right. So like, I think that's kind of an interesting aspect of like your 30s. You start to, I think it's like you see, like, we can talk. I'm kind of like rambling at this point, but like I do think your 30s to me, like when people say, oh, I'm old, it's like, no, you're not old. 30s is not old. 30s is a tipping point. It's a pivot point, in my opinion, where like I saw someone say it, like I forget, I think it's like a Buddhist saying. It's like 40 is when life starts. And it's kind of like, if you think about it, it's an interesting saying. Like when you're younger, when you're in your 20s, like you mentioned athletes, right? When you're in your 20s, you're purely in the present moment, I think. Like you're like a young bull, right? You're just like living, like you are to a degree a slave to your body, right? Your feelings, you're popping wood like at for no reason. Like you are
popping wood. Oh my!
Yes, you're popping
days.
wood. You are growing in your pants at all times.
It's
but you know what I mean.
You're the pants tent, like Larry David says.
Yes,
Oh
you're not in control of yourself. Your mind is not in control. Your body's in control. As you get into your 30s, I think it's like there's a pivot point where you're not young in the sense we're talking about, but you're not old. In many cases, you're kind of in a good sweet spot where like your body is still your friend, has not really become your adversary if you take care of it, and there's still time to take care of it. You're aware of time, I think. Like, yes, you start to say,
True.
oh, you know what? Like, time is a thing. Like, oh shit. Like, if I want to accomplish things, there ain't no tomorrow. It's like we got to get cracking because 10 years from now, I'm in my mid 40s, and like things get more difficult. Like time becomes more pressing, and that's why I do think like you see in your 30s too. I'm generalizing, and I think, sorry you guys hear this. There's a car engine outside. I'm not in the city, but I still hear cars revving. I don't know why that is.
I don't hear it though.
Not on Fresh Pond Road no more.
Yeah, I hear that.
But I guess my point was, it's
get
like,
me started on that one. Go ahead.
I think in your 30s, your mid 30s, let's say, what I identified was more the psychological aspect, and I think, and I've noticed in myself, this one most importantly, it was that, right, you're on a crossroads, and time is happening. Like in your 20s, you don't think about time. When you're a teenager, you don't think about time, right? Time is like it's not a precious resource. It's like, oh no, I got time. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Like you have lots of money. You're like a millionaire. You're just like throwing your dollars, which equate to time. In your 30s, you're like, whoa, no. This is like a valuable resource now. I have to use it. That's why with the scheduling and things like that, time has more value, it's more precious. So I think especially for men in their 30s, it's a tipping point, right? You have two options. You have the option of like, all right, it's time to like excel, or the opposite. And the opposite's like darkness. You don't even want to think about it. It's like you become one of like the lost boys who just kind of like falls through the cracks of time, and you meet them randomly at a bar at midnight or 1 a.m. on 14th Street, who's like telling you stories, and is like, his life is just like I don't want to say to take away from it, has not amounted to anything. It's like he lost track of time. Time escaped him, right? So like that to me is at least what I felt like in the 30s. Like the 30s kind of also coincided with COVID, and for me it was a big wake up call of just like, all right, if you want things, like it's now or never. Like it's time to like shit or get off the pot. Like you got to do things. And I think you see that a lot. Like you see people who are single who get married. You see people who are kind of dating decide to either like, this person is my person or not. People start to have kids, because I think for a lot of men in particular, women too, but I can only speak to men because I'm a man. Like that's a 30 thing. Like, oh, okay, like it's time to get serious because I want things or I want to accomplish something, and I can't just like kick it down the field for future self. It's like no, it's like now or never. So that's like that to me when we think about this conversation. It's like that's 30s to me. It's like all right, physical, yeah, I can agree with some of that stuff, but for me, it's like the mental thing of like that was a mental shift. It's like all right, it's time to stop being a kid. It's Game of Thrones, like kill the boy, become the man. Like you have to, because I don't want to be like seriously. That was 30s, like COVID. I mean, like look for myself, like I quit. I was working. I changed into a different career track. I like re-educated. I like got a new job. I moved out of New York. Like, I'm not special, but I was saying like these are things that like me kind of entering 30s and like COVID were an awakening. Like these things would not like they happened because of that. Like that was me directly responding to like, oh shit. Like I feel like I feel time, and I feel like it's getting a little bit out of I'm losing the reins here, and I'm afraid like that I don't want to be a lost boy. Like I want to like grow up and like make shit happen. Like that was to me like the biggest. Someone asked me like what happened in your 30s. That's what happened for me at least. The physical stuff, yeah, there's some physical stuff, but that was like a big mental shift. Yeah, sorry, I just kind of like went off on the
No,
tangent.
that's good.
No, that was wonderful. And that's a big part of what that is. That's called maturing. That's what it is. That's what I
Yeah,
would
I
call
mean, it
that.
took a long time, but like, yeah, for me, it was like maturing out of fear. Like, oh shit, like, ew, what is happening? Like, we gotta make moves.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
but that's I like that because I've and we all do it. We all have different timelines. Obviously, Joe can attest because we still live in the same city together,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still times you want to go. You want to go out and you reclaim your youth. As I would say, it's what I've done since I've gone back. But Chris makes an excellent point. It's like that when you were talking, it made me think of that quote in Tommy Boy where he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tony Robbins giving a motivational speech." So,
I'll take it.
no, I'm just fucking with you,
No,
but
I know it's fine.
so yeah, no, it's a different, and especially now, I think we hit an age where we've come out of this weird 2.5 year, 3 year period, but we know what it was like pre-technology, pre-internet. So it's a way it's I think being late 30s is a perfect age to be right now. Like you're saying, it's like this is when you start thriving. This is when you're gonna flourish. We're all gonna flourish.
It's when you decide. It's when you have to decide.
Yeah.
That me. It's not. You're guaranteed to flourish. It's like
True.
if I want things, I'm going to need to work at them. Like, to my opinion, sorry to cut you off, but I
That's
need to
all
say
right.
this is like, I do think that our generation, I think this is true. Other people have said this. Is like, I think we were raised, and I'm not saying anything negative. Like, I feel like I was raised very well, but I do think that like the idea of having to work hard to get what you want was not super. I'm speaking for myself, so disagree with me, guys. But like, no, because I tend to generalize, and I hate that I do it. Like I generalize based off my own
But everybody
observations. But I'm
does.
like, yeah, but I want to put it out there. Like this is what I think. If
Mhm.
I say like we or whatever, it's like no, like this is me. This is my experience. But my point is, yeah, I think that we were raised at like, especially as men, boys, like if you're a good guy, if you are a good person, if you follow the rules, like you're gonna get the things you want. Like I don't know about you, but I feel like that was something we were like that was a Disney quality, like certain things of like just do the right thing and like be a good guy and like you're gonna get everything you desire. Like I'm not the only one to say that. I can't be anyone who's listening. I can't be saying something that's too foreign. And I think the reality though is that like that's not true. Like
Mm-hmm.
your mom loves you,
Mm-hmm.
but the world might not love you. And like for everyone else in the world, for the most part, you're gonna have to earn their respect and earn their love. Like if you want things, you're gonna have to work hard, hard. Like the world is not an easy place. And I think you're seeing like this is like an issue with younger people. It's like you want things, but you're unwilling to do the things that other people have done to get those things. Like,
Yeah.
and that's like that I think is like a new thing. Like, oh no, like I want that. Like I deserve that.
Mhm.
Whereas like previous generations, like immigrants who've come into this country, like in the last 20 years, they're doing very well. But like, because they came in with the idea of like, shit, all right, I see the game. At least here, I can bend the game to my will. If I work really hard, I can make shit happen. And then you have people who come here with nothing and then they do very well. Like we worked at Juno. A lot of those drivers did very well if you think about where they came from their perspective. They're like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
shit, you tell me I can drive and I'm going to make money. All right, let's do that. And while I do that, I'm going to put my kids through school. I'm going to leverage that into a business. Maybe I'm going to like lease out 5 cars to 5 other people I know. You know what I mean? They like see opportunity, but they're like killing themselves. They're willing to work at it. And I do think that's something that's kind of changed. I don't know where I was going with that, why I brought this up. Sorry. Like seriously, as I'm saying, I'm like, what was I answering? What was the point I was trying to make?
I think
Anyway.
so. That what you just said reminds me of there's a quote from House of the Dragon, which is directly from George R. R. Martin. Now that he's back, baby, I think both of us has talked about this. Anyone who's not watching that, if I came back and saying it's good, everyone should come back because we all know how fucking pissed off I was.
This is true, actually. Like if Bobby A is watching it,
everyone
somehow someone has won his respect.
So his name is Corlys Valerion, and he's one of the lords of like not one of the ancient big houses like Stark and Lannister. It's House Valerion from the sea, like Driftmark by the ocean. They control the ships and the trading docks and stuff like that. And he says exactly what you just said, Chris. He goes, for a lot of people, what people don't realize is if I'm a Targaryen, I'm born into royalty and finance, and I'm good. I don't have to work. But to tie into the Juno driver point, Corlys says, for people like us, it's not given, it's made. That's all he had to say was that one line, and I know exactly what he's saying, because for 99.99% of the world and the population, you got to make it. It's not going to be given to you, so you can't. And the fact that the younger generation, expects it to be given to them, is why I have this kind of a vendetta and crusade against social media and stuff like that. They expect everything to be given to them without working for it. Listen to Corlys say, you're not, it's not going to be, no one is going to give it to you. You have to make it. And when I say that, I'm not knocking the people that happen to be born into fortunate situations. I'm not, a lot of them are really good people. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying for most of everyone, no one is going to give it to you. If you want something, you got to go take it.
And you're stating a reality. Yeah. Like that's just a reality. Like, and it's always been the reality. We're kind of going into a different direction. Maybe this is something worth talking about another time. But like, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that maybe in my 30s, this is also a 30s thing. Is like, how do I put it? Because this is something I mentally shift where I was like, in the last like maybe 5-6 years, which took place, was like, there is a reality that is black and white. Like people want to try to like be very no. There's certain realities that exist, and I think that in my 30s was just like a statement of reality of like, all right, if I want something, I have to do it. Like if I want to like have a nice home or whatever, like, you know, there are tangible things that you might want in your life. You want a girlfriend, you want a wife, you want more money, you want a nice car, whatever those things may be. Like you have to go, like no one's going to give them to you. You have to do something to get them. Like it's a reality, and you can run away from that reality, or you can accept that reality and make shit happen. And I do think that's like an immigrant mindset of like, immigrants come to countries where they can see, all right, there are opportunities here. There's no guarantees here, but there's opportunities here. And then they go make shit happen,
Yeah.
and they reap the benefits.
I'm going to
Like-
push back on that, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The thing,
Please,
this is-
please do.
immigrants are not, and in my opinion, immigrants are not sold on the idea of a meritocracy that most people, and especially young people in the United States, are actually kind of sold. They're sold fairness and meritocracy. And just like you pointed out, the world is definitely a cold, hard place. And for people who are young, and especially in their 20s, they're just thrown out there just now seeing that. And it's a I can see why they are kind of jaded and disheartened about bursting out into the world, and a lot of them in this case in a post-COVID world where things are dramatically different from when they just got out of high school or college. So things are just dramatically, it's harder. And for them, they were sold that if they did work hard, then they would get those things. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time, or knowing the right person at the right time. It's not, the world is very complex and difficult, and the machine that gives us these messages are telling us something different. So I sympathize. I personally sympathize with younger people who kind of feel that they want to change the system, kind of make it a bit more fair.
Okay, but like, let's take it this way. Let's take 100 young people.
Mhm.
Let's take young people that you know, right? Let's take 100 young people.
I deal with them a lot.
Okay, what percentage of them will have a? I guess the thing is, like, yes, like the world is not a fair place. Like, they're not every people get.
But they
actors is a great.
That's the thing. They don't know that coming.
Yeah, but that's also a new thing. Like, do you think the 20-year-olds or the 14, 15-year-olds of the Great Depression came out saying, "Oh, the world's going to be a great place"? No, they had already started working when they were 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
So part of it, I do think, is like you said. You made a good point. Was like, and it goes back to what I said. Is like we've been teaching a fantasy, and part of it is the people who've been teaching the fantasy have been teaching a lie, and now people are like,
and immigrants they're not taught that fantasy, so they have a different perspective. Yes,
that's my point.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly.
Like, they come in and they say, no, like, it's the same thing off of this. Imagine coming from a poor country and then realizing in America, if you turn in recycling, you get money. Meaning that, like, if I go pick up garbage, I will get paid for it. To a lot of people, that's an insane idea. Like, if you think about it, like, you mean I can turn this in and I'll get 2-3 pennies? I'll get 5 cents? What? It's garbage. People throw it out every day. Well, like, I just got to go pick it up and go return it, and I get money for it.
Yeah, people
like that. You know what I mean? That's like a crazy idea to someone who is from another country. They'd be like, "Oh, this is an opportunity." For you or I'd be like, "Well, it's not worth it. Like, you're going to spend 8 hours and make like $20, maybe more." But for them, they're like, "No, I'm going to get my family. We'll go do it. It's free $20. All we have to do is spend our time and be willing to do it." So no, I agree. I agree with you, Joe. You're not wrong. I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying. My opinion doesn't matter. Like, whether I think you're right or wrong. Like, you think what you think. But I do agree. Like, in that, I think we've been teaching an idea that is wrong, and the consequence to that idea is that you have a false set of expectations on how the world works.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Because there's a lot of, like, I think there's a lot of data. Like, you have immigrants that come into this country, and then within a generation, in recent years, like, their offspring are, like, significantly better. They came in poor and then they're middle class in, like, a generation. But it's like they're willing to, let's say, do construction, or, I don't know, lay down carpets or whatever. And then in a generation they own their own business and whatever. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
No. So there's I see what you're saying, Joe, but it's I would call it more of like we fostered a culture where like Chris said, the expectations have become unreasonable. I'm just gonna say it the way it is.
And we've taught that.
Yes.
Like that's not their fault. They've
Yeah.
been taught
Right,
that.
It's
right,
been
I'm
a
not-
thing since the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
I'm not blaming them as human beings. Yes, agreed. But we fostered a culture of I'm an American. I was born in this place. My family does this. I deserve this. And we've lost the actual. You have to make it. You need to make it yourself. Like you're saying, you need to. Actions and behavior are required for you to achieve what you want to achieve. It's not going to be handed to you on a platter.
And I mean, I want to even throw like 50s, 60s. I mean, think about it. In the 50s and 60s, most people, I'm going to say most, when they were having kids and families in their 20s. So like they had even more responsibilities and they were like making shit happen. And you could say that like maybe there was more opportunities.
Yes,
but
there
like
was more
nowadays it's like
opportunities then.
kids have, yes, but I mean, I guess I'm saying it's like you're telling me a single person has less opportunities now than a person in the 50s that had 2 children, a wife, and a house to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all.
No, I disagree entirely.
All right, so coming out of the, and I can throw you the numbers right now. Coming out of World War II, all of the people that fought in those wars had numerous loans that they didn't have to pay back, and damn, I'm forgetting the word. There's no interest on those loans. It's that you had the GI Bill. You had so many things that people could do where they can buy a house, they can go to school for free. These are things that none of these kids can do now. And this like started with Generation X before us, where look at the amount of people that were dissatisfied with how their lives were like coming into like the 90s. And it's only just gotten worse. Things are just different now. And
I mean, I
we're
think
still
things have
being
definitely gotten more
sold that
expensive.
message. Yeah, it's definitely more expensive, but it's
as far as like houses and things like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
yes, but it's just different. We're still sold that mentality of 50s and 60s. This is how life should be. We should do this, and this to get that. But the how things have kind of fallen, it's just different now. It's way different.
Yeah, I don't disagree with certain aspects of what you're saying. Like I agree with the fact that like you could go to school for almost any degree and then go get a job at some company pushing papers and make a livable wage.
But
like that was something that you could do in the 50s and 60s and 70s.
The baby boomers, they would come out of college and they wouldn't have any college debt. They could easily pull a loan for a house and not have to pay like 10% interest on it.
So here's my one thing though. Like I don't disagree with any of that. You're right. Like and what do I know, guys? Anyone listening to this? I'm a peon. I don't know. I can't throw data. At least Joe has thrown out data about the GI Bill. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but those people were also entrenched.
Yeah, that was
getting shot at. Dude, so come on.
And they suffered. Yes.
Yeah. So,
but here's the thing. A couple of things I would say is that all of the young people now, and I can just say this, they could join the military and reap many of the benefits that these people reaped. Probably more so. So that's an option. Most of them will not take advantage of that. That's one thing.
And to be honest, I personally don't think they should.
I wouldn't.
Why fight?
They should.
I don't think they shouldn't. I feel like a lot of the wars we fight now are other people's wars.
Well, regardless, but I'm saying that if your argument is like, if I join the military, I get these benefits, pure and simple. I'm saying those benefits still exist if they wanted to fight for them. Whether they agree with the war or not, at that point you're selling your services for a payout. So, I mean, let's just say that they have that option. Two, I would say is that I think part of insanity is continuing to do something when you can see around you that outcome doesn't work anymore. So like, I don't believe the idea of like, all right, I'm doing what people have always done, but it's like we've had enough years where you can see that that's not working. Like how many people do you work with at Apple have like probably close to $100,000 worth of debt and no useful degree? Part of that is your choice. Why would you? It doesn't make any sense. Like,
but to ask a 18-year-old or 19-year-old to make a rational choice at that
But
time.
dude, these people have advanced
crazy.
degrees. It's not like they were in 18 and they decided to go get a master's degree in like Renaissance art. Like, that's not. Don't tell me that was like they're naive. Like, come on now, dude. You're a fucking like. Many of these people are choosing directions that will not have a financial output. Like, I want to be a professor. It's difficult to be a professor. Like, there's not many like, you know what I mean? Like, to be a tenured professor is a minority occupation. Like, you're going to be vie for a lot of people to get that role. And if it's like, I want to be an actor. All right. So like, you want to throw your hat in the ring in an industry of which the high likelihood that you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
Now, what if every aspiring actor at some point said, you know what? I was taught by society that I could be anything I wanted to be. And now I have like all this debt because I'm waiting tables to try to pursue this goal that if I get it, I'll make me a millionaire. And it didn't work out, right? No, that's your choice. Like you entered an arena that has a high likelihood that you will not succeed at it. Like just by sheer fact of like the odds are against you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being insensitive because I'm
not.
not.
You're not.
No, not at all.
I'm gonna chime in here because I've made many mistakes in my life and in this exact realm, career, education, etc. Like choosing to, if I could do it all over again, I would do a degree that wasn't legal. I would do some kind of more like something more creative oriented, but so I can relate to that. But like you said, it's a choice. I made that choice. No one forced me to do that. What my hang up has always been with the younger generation is it's not that because Joe, you do have a point. They've grown up in an environment that wasn't the same as ours. So I can't hold them to the same fucking standards that I grew up in, or that people that grew up in the 18th century and the 19th century, etc.
Dude, we graduated during the recession. So like, I mean, we did grow up in a bad situation.
Yes.
But that's the thing. They also graduated in a recession and a pandemic. It's just
sorry. Rob, continue your thought. We both
No. You're right. Both. I see what you're saying. Oh, it's like what I always say, and I'll quote myself from a previous episode. It's hard times, Daddy. It's Dusty Rhodes. We all have hard times. We all got hard times. But what my hang up about the younger generation is what I think both of you were kind of alluding to, but I'll just fucking come out and say it. They're more concerned with image and online presence.
Yeah, that's fair.
Than actually working and making something of themselves. They care about what people think of them, and trust me, I went through that myself. So I know I'm speaking from personal experience. They care about how people perceive them more than actually, like Chris said earlier, the Juno driver that wants to, he's literally busting his ass to put food on the table for his children and his family so that he can still live in America, because that's why he came.
And some of them might be doctors.
Yeah, man, exactly. We've met them. I've met them. They're doctors. They hold high level degrees and they have prestige in the country of their origin. But
yeah,
it's I think now the people in their teens and 20s, it's all about how it's like the avatar that we always talk about. It's your your video game avatar is more important than who you actually are.
So I actually agree 100% with you, Rob. But still, again, to ask these kids to do something that all kids do at that age, they want to show.
You're not a kid if you're 25, Joe. I can't agree with you.
I'm gonna throw this caveat out there. Not all of them do that. Like,
I know.
Like that's my point. Is like when you say like, it's like no, lots. It's like I went to go be an actor, right? Something dumb, right? And then I have many people I went to school with that went to go become doctors, lawyers, accountants. Guess what? Most of those people have nice homes. They're married with kids. We all grew up in the same environment. We all watched the same entertainment. Why did they choose that path? I chose my path. The idea that you can blame society for your choices is kind of foolish because not everyone of your generation is making the same choice. How many 19-year-olds, 20-something-year-olds, 21-year-olds graduate with computer science degrees and go off to work at Amazon,
Right.
who hires hundreds, if not thousands of
I think that's
developers?
happening a lot more now.
Yeah.
I think so. Here's the thing. With the millennial generation, I think
Not just the millennial. I mean, many people choose that industry for the last since the .com era. My point is that people make choices. Many people ever choose. There's not a deficit of doctors. There's not a deficit of lawyers. There's not a deficit of accountants.
I kind of think there is for doctors.
I mean, there's still people
good
going
ones,
to
good
medical
ones,
school.
yes.
There's still people going to medical school. It hasn't diminished as an occupation, right? Accountants has not diminished as an occupation. Lawyers has not diminished as an occupation. Engineers has not diminished really as an occupation. There are still those deciding to go into those industries. And then when they're 24, 25, they make six figures. How do you account for their proper decision making? Right? They're the same age, the same generation. They watch the same movies. They watch the same TV shows. Why did they decide to do X and everyone decided to do Y?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's my point. When I hear these conversations about blah, 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 it's all right, but not everyone of that generation made that choice.
And that's always
lots
going
of them
to
made
be
the right choice.
Yes, that's always going to be the case. But more often than not, I would say the majority have done the things that society has told them to do, and they're still dissatisfied with where they are.
Oh, well, that's dissatisfaction. I mean, you could be on Mount Olympus and still be dissatisfied.
Exactly. That's different. Yeah, agreed. But to your I'm with Chris on this, Joe. I gotta disagree with you strongly on this. Not even.
I also work with a guy who's 22 and he went to school for data science.
Yeah, man.
White guy, grew up in Boston. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He, for whatever reason, he made a certain choice that was a practical choice.
And that's the thing.
Practical.
From what and it's anecdotal, I get it, but from what I noticed,
we're all speaking anecdotal.
Yeah.
A lot more than 20-somethings that I know are going into computer science. I'll give you one example, and still anecdotal.
Mm-hmm.
There's one person that I know that moved up to the Genius Bar, and they wanted to actually go into corporate because their background was financial, like fintech. But they were blocked from going to the Genius Bar. They wanted to go from technical specialist to the Genius Bar. So they left the company, went to work for a bank, and then went all the way back. And it took a 6-year odyssey to do it. Went all the way back to working at Apple corporate for Apple Pay. So it's things. Yeah, exactly. It's things like that.
I don't really
where
follow that, but
no, I
no, sorry, Joe. Wait, Joe, finish your thought.
It's things like that where people are not. They're sold on. Okay, if you do what you're supposed to do at your job, then you can move up, and that didn't happen for this person. So it took them a while to realize. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. Person is still in their mid 20s or 26, 27, and they decided to take a different route to where they want to go.
Yeah.
It's just being sold this message that if you do what you have to do, you're going to get where you want to go. And I think that message is completely wrong, like you mentioned before. And I think that young people are noticing that and they want to change it. But like you said, Rob, and like anyone in that time frame would do, they're doing it selfishly. They're looking for social media clout. They're doing it just to show off that, okay, this is my value set, and this is what I want to show onto the world. It's up to them when they get older to actually push that value set for change. And I guess only time will tell if that's going to happen.
I guess we're kind of going to a different conversation, which is interesting because I didn't expect it. I guess when you say that, the things I have is you said a lot of interesting things, but I don't think I know what any of those things mean. What is the right thing? What do you mean by that? They said they thought they were doing the right thing. What does that mean? What is the right thing? I don't, tell me.
So
that if they do a good job at their company, that company will reward them.
Yes, working.
All right, well then that's fair. I mean, that's kind of a nonsense.
Yeah,
That's an old. I agree with that.
That's
and that,
common
like,
sense.
That was an
Yeah.
old school idea of like, I'm going to work at a company
yeah,
for 30 years and they're going to take care of me.
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah,
Like, if
because
you
this
believe
person was
that-
annoyed that
Yeah.
that one of their coworkers was really more being buddy with management, and then that's how they got promoted.
That's
instead
like
of
red
this
tape
person.
shit. That's like
Yes.
that's like red tape shit.
No, I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a change that you can say that you see is that, like, because you hear this if you talk to anyone who's higher up in companies, that like, oh, like, especially if they're a little bit older, like they're of a generation where you had loyalty for a company, and now they're seeing that like people jump ship.
Yep.
Like in software development,
Mhm.
every 2 years you jump ship because you know if I jump ship, I'm going to get paid another 20K,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
I ain't gonna get a 20K bonus. Ideal, you know what I mean? Like it's easier. You see it as a behavior that's becoming more prevalent, which I think is different. Where like people like my dad, for example, worked at the same company for like 38 years, right?
Mhm.
One company. That's like an old 50s idea, right? You stick
Mhm.
with them. Whereas a more modern idea is like, no, like I have a skill and I'm gonna move whoever's gonna pay me the most money, right? That's a more of a modern. That is something that has changed.
And it is,
Yeah.
and it's just now coming to the forefront. Like it's a workers kind of like an environment right now where you can push for more health benefits, you can push for more money,
Yeah.
and corporations have nothing. They can't do anything more but then to just say, okay, we have to give it to you because the environment favors workers right now.
Yeah, but I disagree with that. I don't think that. I guess my thing is this. I think not the point I'm making is that there's a difference. I think this is, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a student of any of these subjects. This is my observation. I think there's a difference though. I think back in the 50s, you could pretty much go to school and not have a skill. You get a job at a company because you have a degree.
Mhm.
You learn that job and you work that job. That job may be very specific to that company and have no transferability to any other job. Right? That's why people worked at companies for 30 odd years, right? They did their job, they had good benefits, they stayed there. I
Yeah.
think what you're seeing now,
They're comfortable.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like,
Mhm.
I'm going to go raise my family. I'm going to go do these things. I'm going to go live my life. And this one aspect of my life is taken care of. I'm going to work real hard. I'm going to do my best. And that's that. What's changed is, like today is 100% an employee market. But here's the kicker. You need to have skills in order to fully leverage that ability, right? Like you can't go to school and not know anything and then act like you have clout and you can like leverage and like get like a company's going to give you more. Like this is why in the tech industry people can bounce around, because when they bounce with all the skills they have to the next job, right? They have bargaining chips. Right. All right. You don't want to pay me X. Well, then I'm going to go to this company. I have all these skills I've learned. I'm going to apply them at Y. But if you don't have skills, you don't have any bargaining experience.
Yeah.
And I
Good
think that's
point.
an issue
Yeah.
that you're seeing nowadays is like, if you go to school for, like it used to be, you could go, you're right. Like you could go, parents would say, go to college, you're going to get a degree, then you're going to go find a job and you're going to work that job. 9 times out of 10, that job has nothing to do with your degree, unless you're a doctor, an accountant, an engineer, computer scientist, right? If you have any other degree, it's not going to apply to your job in the grand scheme of things directly, right? I think that idea, which was sold, which is an old idea, has done a lot of people a disservice.
Mhm.
But I think if you have a skill set, today is like a great time for like employees. Like just the fact that how many companies are now like that you can work remote. Like that's like purely was done because employees were like, no, I'm not going to go back to work. Like you don't need me in the office. Like I can work remote. Like why do I need to be there? Like that's an amazing thing, but you have to be worthwhile. Like you have no power unless you have skills that a company needs. If they don't need you, you're expendable. And I think that's like a huge issue. Like that's something like people don't have skills.
My last thing on that topic, though, I think I think you're forgetting what Gen Z, what kind of world they're like kind of born into. I think they're baked into technology. I think a lot of them who are going, not most,
Not true.
but a lot of them are going into computer sciences. They are going into that world. It's not like our
And they have
generation.
no problems. They have no problems.
What do you mean?
That if you're saying to me that the majority or a large percentage of Gen Z are going into school for computer scientists, then I can guarantee you, as someone who's only been in this industry for 2 years and didn't go to a 4-year degree, that they have no problems financially.
I see.
But it's not.
There were
That's the thing. It's not only
No
about
problems.
finances. It's not.
Well, but then okay,
So
outside of what is your job supposed to offer you outside of finances?
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like this whole idea that jobs give humans meaning. The
yeah, I gotta.
message,
I'm with Joe here. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
the message there is just, it's just not, it's not matching up with what people are seeing or seeing on the ground. It's just, it's a disparate message.
Yeah, but I guess who was telling you that your job was meant to give you all the meaning in life? Where was this
But
message
that's
disseminated?
that's been there since the 50s, and it's been prevalent.
In the 50s, people had raised families and had kids. Their job was not their only aspect of their life. It was a fraction of their life.
I'd say
Now, if
most of
anything else,
them got those families through working hard at their jobs.
yes, but they worked hard at their job in order to allow them to raise a family and have kids and buy a house.
Right. All right, so I'm gonna jump in here, boys, because we gotta. This is
And we need to wrap it up, I
yeah
think,
we
too.
went to a whole new part of this universe. But I agree with Joe in saying it's not all about. I gotta disagree with you, Chris, a little bit. It's
fine.
yes, there's a job, your career, your choice makes you a little bit who you are, but it doesn't completely define who you are. So Joseph has a point there. We're all still.
No, I don't. But I don't. Also, though, that's not my point either.
All right. So yeah,
Go ahead,
then I
finish.
misunderstood your point. I thought you were trying to say that the new evolution of human beings, this new generation that's coming up, is they're defining themselves by their career choice, and some of them are.
Oh, that I agree.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I think many are.
Many are.
But go ahead, finish your thought.
Many are. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't completely define the human being you are. That's not.
No, I'm saying that more people put way too much emphasis on what they do.
Then I agree.
Living
Then I take that
than
back.
their life.
Yeah.
If you put all of your hopes and dreams on your career, then I'm sorry, you're gonna be let down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you
Then
can
I
get
agree
fired.
with you. I take that back.
But that's because you put way too much of your life's energy into a job. There's a reason it's called a job, right? Like historically, people had many aspects of their life. They worked a job, but the job was not the only. They didn't come home to an empty house.
Yeah.
It facilitated them living a full life.
It's utilitarian. It's pragmatic for the most part. And if
nowadays people, it's like my job is my career. Is my career is my life.
Yeah. No. I agree with you. I changed
That's
that completely.
My point.
Yeah. So, but another thing, like to get back. No, it is still on topic. So the last thing I want to raise is, speaking of that, now that a lot of us work with, as you just mentioned, a lot of us work with this new out of college generation that's coming out, and they have a different perspective because it pains me to say this for myself, but we're like 15 years older than these people, dude.
Yeah.
So,
oh shit, yeah.
It sucks for me, but I like, that's why I like in the beginning of the episode where Chris said it's like we're just hitting when you're getting to 40, you're doing your thing. Now for a female, I would say I understand why you wouldn't feel the same way. You get me?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
so there's a different.
We're talking from a male's perspective.
Yeah, there's a different biology going on, but for us, we're lucky enough. And don't think that's lost on us. We know that we're fortunate to be able to do that. But anyway, I digress. Now let's talk about, as you're getting older, as you're meeting all these new people, these 22-year-olds, like you said, Chris, is coming in with a different perspective, different just outlook on life in general. How do you interact with those people? Can you still make close friends when you're in your late 30s, or are you still set in your ways and you only like people, like you said, that have similar interests than you? Are you opening to this new wave of, like Joe said, fashion, music? Can we get along with these people? That's the question.
Let's throw that to
Yeah.
Joe, because I feel like, Joe, you're
Yeah.
around a lot more younger people than we
Oh,
are. So I'm
man.
curious
good-
what
yeah,
you
true.
think about
Yeah.
that.
So there's a part of me where I actually, it being around the younger people makes me want to have more energy and be more open minded about things. But then there's certain times when I'm just looking at someone, I'm thinking, why are you dressed this way? I don't understand. Like, or why are you listening to this music that it's just so depressing? I don't know. It makes me want to be better, like being around youthful people who have like these pie in this, some of them have pie in the sky ideals about how the world should be. But then there are other times when I'm thinking, okay, this is a bit too much. You're taking it to the extreme. I just want to.
Can you give an example? Give me a rundown, like a Bobby A rundown of the fashion choice that you dislike.
Okay, so I was actually walking down the street one day with a friend of ours who happened to point out to me how the fashion for men and women have changed during the different generations. So like I was pointed out that okay, there was a girl who was walking down the street who had like mom jeans on
Yes.
with Converse, but then she had a halter top that showed her midriff, and it's just
Mhm.
like it's kind of weird to have that kind of two different styles put together in one, and it's just like kind of it doesn't go together. It doesn't make any sense.
What's something that like someone has said that you were like, I just don't like, I can't get behind this? Because you're pretty open minded, like more so than I am. Like, is someone like you said that kind of, you were saying like they'll say something, or like, and you're like, I just can't follow
Hold
that.
on,
Like,
hold.
what is something?
That's
Go
a
ahead,
that's a
Siggy.
good question. Hold on, before you answer that, I have a comment about that outfit. You realize that's intentional. That's a look. Everything comes full circle, Joe. They're going for the mom jean look is coming back. That's what I'm telling you
Oh
right now.
God,
The dad hats are coming back. Those like
yeah.
fishing dad hats.
I've seen that.
You see what
That's
I'm
one thing
saying?
I've
Like,
seen. Oh fuck.
it's intentional. Now, is it cool or not? That's up for everyone else to debate. But that's what I want to say. It's like she wasn't.
The only timeless style was the 1950s. That's my
No. Chris and I talked about this. Go outside in a goddamn suit, and you'll be good if you're a man. Just
Yeah, if you
rock
dress
suit.
like you dress out straight out of Mad Men,
Yeah.
you'd still get by any aspect of life.
You can drop you into any century. Exactly. So, all right, go, Joe.
So I was having this conversation about like energy, like most people don't know like a lot of the energy that we are powered with is not through like it's not pure electricity. It's like natural gas that powers the energy grid. And I was talking to a coworker how yes, it would be nice if we could actually get rid of fossil fuels and just go like net zero carbon, and it's just not possible to do it immediately. And I'm just thinking, okay, yes, this is going to be your world that you have to live in, and you're going to have to deal with all the shitty like decisions that our generation and more so the generation before us actually came up with. But you need to do it in a you need to do it in more of a responsible way. Otherwise, you're going to have people living in like another Great Depression in multiple ways. It's just
How do they respond to that?
they
That feedback?
understood. It's just that it's like I said before. There's ideals that are well meaning, and I love that. But to put more practicality into those ideals, that it's just going to take them time because they haven't lived their lives yet. They want to see things happen, but they haven't lived through it yet. It's just going to take them time, and they understood it. It's just that it's just weird not just to say something and not completely know all the inner workings behind what they're saying.
Joe, I'm gonna like throw this at you for, and you can think about it later. But you, I think, might like. I feel like you have a very good ability to see other people's perspective and remain somewhat neutral. A skill that I do not have. I think that like that might be something like you might find a way to use that, like whether it's an activity or some type of group you could join. Because I do feel that more so than because you are always the devil's advocate in our conversations. I think you're able to see more from a younger perspective or from other perspectives, and that's a skill. Not everyone has that ability.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wonder if there's whether it's politics or some type of community group or whatever, like that might be something that you would find a lot of you could use that ability towards, because that's a skill. I don't think everyone has that. Most people get too enraptured in their own emotions to be able to like, you know, stay neutral and actually listen. And I think you have that ability.
I was told that before, but I feel like I have a little bit too much anxiety to jump into that kind of world. But
you don't climb Mount Everest on the first
that
day.
is true.
You got to work at it.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So yeah, we're coming to an end. Any final thoughts? This conversation went into weird direction.
Yeah.
As it always
started in
does.
our
It
30s
always
and
does.
we just ended
But-
on
but-
like pop culture, like references.
Yeah,
now.
but any
Oh, I want to end with this one thing real quick, and then you guys can do your
Uh-huh.
thing. What's his last name? Who do we work with at Juno and Apple?
Mike Marshall.
What's Mike's last name? Yes, thank you.
Oh man.
Mike
Shout out
Marshall
Mike
said one
Marshall.
thing. Yeah, Mike Marshall. If you ever, I don't think you are, but if you are,
he might
hey,
be
don't-
though.
He might be. He said something once, and this was when we were at Juno, that I really liked. He said something about like not even just being a man, but being a person, and how like you should spend like a portion of your life with people your own age, because they see the world similar to you because you have a similar experience. You should spend a good portion of your time with people that are older than you, because you can learn from their eyes and see the world from how it was. And then he's like, you should also spend ample time with people younger than you, because it helps you get a chance to mentor and teach, but you also stay youthful because you get to see things with youthful naivete.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something he did in his own life. Like I think he had tutored or he taught kids basketball. Like he worked with these two boys who play basketball. Like just mentorship. Like, all right, they want to learn basketball. I'm good at basketball. I'm going to spend this amount of time with them each day or each week playing basketball. And then he spent time with his peers. And then I think he also, it's a good way of looking at life. Like I think that now we're very siloed in that most people don't spend much time with people that are older than them, their elders, or people that are maybe not their elders, but like our age, right? If you're in your 20s. And then also we don't spend a lot of time with people that are in their 20s or their teens. And like historically, right, you lived in a village, right? You did, like you had your aunties and uncles, you had people that were your elders, you had your peers, you had the younger people, and like you got a chance to like be a student and a teacher and a friend, right? Like that, you got to be all those things at once. Be a friend to people that are your age, a leader to the younger people, and a student to the older people. And I think that's kind of like an issue right now, is that like there's friction because these different generations don't interact. And the only places they're really interacting is like social media. And then they don't, like, you're not getting a chance to really learn and experience life with these different people in different stages of life. And like, you kind of need all that. You need that soup in order to like really be like a good functioning human. So anyway, that was a Mike Marshall ism.
The soup du jour. There's a lot of Mike-ism. I'll tell you that right now. But first of all, big up Mike Marshall every single time. If he's listening, call me. I will talk. I will promise I will answer this time.
I'm on the show,
Yeah.
bro. We can talk about something.
He's the man. He's the man. I miss that guy.
But to the overall point, I would say, for me personally, to round off the topic, 30s, when you're 30s, there's a lot of wisdom and you think about things in a different way. But I'm going to be perfectly honest and vulnerable and say I'm jealous of people that are 19, 20 that still have fucking 15 years ahead of their life for me. So a lot of my angst, a lot of the reasons why I don't give a flying fuck about the new music is because Bad Bunny, I'm sure he's a good guy. He is. I'm not listening to your music, dog. I'm not gonna do it. So, but it's a lot of it. I will be perfectly honest. It's a little bit of envy. You know what I'm saying, Chris? So,
It's jealousy, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I would say I think all three of us would agree with this. If you are very, very lucky and ahead of the game and ahead of the curve if you in your 20s and you can think about things in like a very introspective and analytical way. You're going to be way ahead of everyone else instead of me, who was just going out to fucking hockey games and getting absolutely buckled at the Tottenham bar at 14th Street, who I refuse to name. So yeah, that would be my last point. It's like, listen, if you can somehow conjure up maturity when you're in late teens, early 20s, you're gonna be you're gonna be made in the shade. Okay.
All right, Joe, hit us. Hit us with some deep words.
Just piggyback on both of you. I do envy this group. I really do. But especially in the words of Bobby A and you, Chris, just lay off the social media. It's so unnecessary. Just to show off.
It's repulsive.
Who you are.
It's repulsive. That's what it is. But go ahead.
It's like a digital journal. I get it, but it's just better to just live your life instead of just putting out your feelings and your images on a digital journal, a digital locker. I don't know. It's a little frustrating sometimes just to see how people live their lives on social media, but I get it. Every generation has their thing that they want to show who they are at that point in time, especially when they're in their 20s. But I just wish that was just less of a thing. And then also to piggyback off of Rob, this music, God, I wish it wasn't so depressing.
It's disgusting.
It's just, and there's no, I feel like there's not much artistry to it anymore. It's just more.
It's mechanical, yeah.
It's mechanical. Auto-tune is very, there's just a formula to it. It has to be like 2 minutes now, so that you can get like ads in, or at max 3 minutes. It all sounds the same, and I know every generation says that for the previous generation's music. And I really want to open up and listen to more stuff, but I just.
No,
it's like a downward spiral for me when it comes to music.
So, and Joe, Chris is going to have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm not, and I know it's.
I'm not. That's why I'm not even saying nothing.
But Joe, the debates online about Taylor Swift's new album is fucking hilarious, dude. It's like, dude, people care this much, and it's more about. It's like what you're trying to say. It's more about your like the scene that you create, like the vibe,
chasing clout.
Correct. And it's not about the actual artistry of it. Now, if people are like, oh, Taylor Swift this, people are like, Taylor Swift didn't do that. Oh, Taylor Swift didn't create a dance. You got to create a dance, Chris. Now, if you don't create a dance in the song you make, you're fucked. So there has to be a TikTok dance to your song, or else you're not going to make it.
This is the one thing I know that I'm getting old, is that like I'm so far removed from like pop culture that like I have said things to people and they're just like, they look at me, I'm like 67 years old, like what is that, like who's that person singing? I like this song, who are they? And they like look at me like, what do you mean you don't know who Cardi B is? I'm like, I have no idea.
It's like
No idea.
yeah, exactly. That's a good example. You who's doing it?
No, if she came up to me on a street and asked for directions, I would be like, "Oh yeah, make a left here." Like I have no idea.
Yeah, where most people,
I'm
a lot of
glad.
people
I'm
would
glad.
just drop down crying and take selfies with her. Chris
God.
Corvo's gonna be
I
like,
care
yeah,
so little. This is my thing. Like I have never cared about. I've never put any of those people on a pedestal. And I do think that's something. I mean, I don't think that's a novel thing of this generation. I think
no, we all
we
did
like
it. Yeah.
put people on pedestals. I'm like, I never put people like that on pedestals. I've always been like, somehow I can get above you, motherfucker. Like, I'm not gonna worship you.
Yeah, man. But
anyway.
yeah, but no, you're exactly right. There's
Forgive my language.
It's more of like Joe was saying now in the actual art, the creation of music and the production doesn't matter. It's only your persona and how everyone perceives you. If you're likable and charismatic and you can put forth a good like persona, it's like wrestling. It's like WWE. That's what it is. The music, the song doesn't matter at all anymore.
Well, we're getting to a point of worship.
Yeah.
Like this is turning into like we've recreated gods on.
I've actually
like,
said it's becoming more like sports fandom.
Yeah,
like everyone
yes,
has
maybe,
their
yeah,
side,
but-
and you have to push down the other side to prop up your side. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's the Taylor Swift. Like Chris, if you ever have 30 minutes, I mean, not that you would want to waste those 30 minutes.
I won't give.
Yeah,
them.
that's what I was just gonna say. You took the words out of my mouth. Not that you would want
I'm
to waste.
so unimpressed by these people. Like I'm just like no. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to do.
Yeah, but
it's like if I worked at the Apple Store and they came there, I would not give them any more
attention.
You'd see like Peter Jordan, like
yeah.
like no man, like I don't care about you. Like you know what I mean. You're a person to me. You're a person. You're a nice person. You're a mean person. Other than that, like your bank account, it's not my bank account.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's an excellent point. This is the last thing I'll say. There's like I'm not saying all this to say that Taylor Swift is a bad human. Like I have
no idea who she is.
Yeah, right. I'm sure she's a sweetheart, but I don't care for her music. So why does that make me a bad person then? I just won't listen to it. I'm not gonna listen to it. So what the fuck? I have to listen to her music. And it's like that's what Joe said. It's like, oh, if you don't think this is the best album ever, you're it's like a sport. It's like sports now. It's like insulting you. So
yeah, these people are like family members. Like you maybe like, oh, you know, I remember like sitcom was like Taylor Swift moved to New York. We're worried about her. I'm like, you don't know her. She's not your friend.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
She's a person who makes music. She might bury babies in her backyard for all you know. Like, not saying. I mean, I'm trying to
Jeffrey Dahmer style.
She's maybe a nice person. I'm just saying, it's like, dude, these people are not they're not your family members. What I find crazy is like how like people like love these celebrities more than they love the people they interact with on a daily basis. It's like, dude, these are not your friends. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah,
they create something of which you enjoy it,
yeah,
but don't go beyond that. Like, they make something you like. If you like to listen to it, great. But like, they're not God. Like, they're not worthy of your worship. And like, I feel like with the social media, it's like it's turning into a vehicle where like people can like deify themselves. And then you have this, you have literal, not even fan. We don't even use the word fans anymore. Followers. What did gods have? Followers. Like these people are becoming like disciples of these, like, especially that's one thing we got to end. But like I'm seeing with like the younger celebrities, like the way their fans follow them is like mystical, like supernatural, like the frenzy, which maybe this is true of all. Like I would imagine like the fans of the Rolling Stones, it was the same thing, or the fans of like Led Zeppelin. But like it is kind of crazy, like some of these trends and how like, yeah, it's like worship is becoming a thing.
But
like,
it's on steroids. It's on steroids now. It really is.
It is, because you're ever more connected to these people, whereas before you could see them live on a show, but like you couldn't watch them live their daily life out. Like, yeah, that to me, I think is like becoming morbid.
Yeah,
it's like becoming like evil almost. Like Yeah, like evil would be the right
Yeah,
word.
that's a great analogy, Chris. And it's like Taylor Swift came down with the 10 Commandments from Mount Sinai. Big
Yeah,
big
and I
up
mean, it's nice
Judaism
that
every
she's
time.
not.
Rob
Yeah,
with the
she's not
Taylor
like
Swift
a.
vendetta.
She's not like a bad. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
think
her
she's a
message
bad
is
person
bad.
either.
But like, imagine like some of these people who are these like I'm not saying rappers, but like there are these young rappers who are saying some shit that is like an inciting situations where like it's dangerous. Like no, like you have this power and you're wielding it to a bad end. Like people, like what was the one guy who like had a concert and his whole thing was he'd get like huge amounts of people to come to his concert. Was it recently? And like people died at his concert.
Fuck, what was this guy's name?
I forget his name. And it was a young, like his generation of people listening to his music are like 16,
I know,
maybe 17, 18.
I know what he looks like.
I have
forgot
no idea
his
what his
is,
name
but
is.
I'm glad the three of us don't know what his name is.
But like I'm saying, like that's like scary to me. Like these people are like they're tapping into the raw energy of youth and they're wielding it in like a very dangerous way.
Yeah, that's but these people are the alarming part is
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
Yes, thank you. That's his
All
name.
right. Thank you, Joe. There's the alarming part is these people they're not selling out concert venues. They're selling out like football stadiums. There's like 80,000 people at these concerts, and they're all teenagers. And I mean, we got to clip it there because I can rant on this all day.
There's a reason why, like all
selling out
religions
stadiums.
talk about false gods. Like every religion has false gods. In our generation, we're seeing, like in my opinion, the birth, the rekindling of false gods. Because like you can, with technology, your ability to reach so many people all hours of the day has never been greater. And you're seeing the birth of these people, in my opinion. I would call them false gods who, like, kids listen to them more than they listen to their parents. And they put their trust in these people of whom are not worthy of your trust. They don't know anything, right? What does Travis Scott really know of the world? Like, he ain't going to lead your child in the right direction, right? And, like, you're seeing, like, just use him as an example. I don't know anything about him, but, like, the fact is, like, all I know is that he had a concert in a place he knew there were dangers, and he did it anyway. And literally, people lost their one chance of consciousness. Like, life is such a gift, and the fact is, like, people lost that gift and will never get it again. Like, the fact that no one talks about that, it's like you're forgotten. It's like, no, like, literal youthful people were extinguished, and who knows what their capabilities were lost to the universe because of what? Like, so you can make some money and sing a song. Like, you fucking cancer.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to bring it down on a bad note.
But yeah, on a lighter note, let's just say, I can think I could speak for all three of us. We're aging. We're appreciating our wisdom. We're gonna age gracefully, and I promise everyone, we will come out with great content. You'll laugh, but it'll make you think. That's the Corvo way.